Hedi is an energetic, charismatic, confident young woman who is taking up her space in the world. As an entrepreneur, she runs P&H Boutique with her husband and has managed to build 7 stores around the country. I have no doubt that she's going to build an empire. She reminds me of a quote by Shonda Rhimes that goes, "Who you are today, that's who you are. Be brave, be amazing, be worthy." And that is what Hetty is. She is brave, she is amazing, and she is worthy. And much like her mentor Vusi Thembekwayo, she takes up the space, and may she never stop. May she inspire. Thanks. Hi Hetty, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So let's start off with a few, easy questions. Tell me about where you grew up, what that was like, how that shaped you.
Wow, not as easy as you may think.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm an only child.
Sure.
And my mother is South African, and my father is from Ghana. And my parents actually met in Russia.
Okay.
So my mother was in exile.
Okay.
And she was very politically active within the ANC structures. And my father was in Russia on a Kwame Nkrumah scholarship. And that's where they met at university. And, I came along. So I'm very much an international child in the sense that, I was born in Russia. I did my primary schooling in the UK. Wow. And I've also lived in Ghana and South Africa. And my parents have really traveled all over the world. So I've followed them along as well. We've lived in Sweden, we've lived in Egypt. But I always say that I'm very much an African at heart. My worldview, my experiences of the world is that of an African, and it's through the lens of an African. So despite the fact that I've had a very international upbringing and perspective of life, I'm very much a Pan-Africanist in that sense.
Wow, that's beautiful. Also take me through how traveling and seeing different parts of the world has shaped you as a human being.
I honestly recommend traveling for any person. I would say travel as much as you can, because it honestly opens up the world to you. It opens up your view of the world. It shows you that there is so much to explore and experience in this life. And I think some of my biggest epiphanies in life, drawing closer to myself, and also just my perspective on the world has come as a result of the fact that I'm a traveled person. So I've always been fascinated. You travel the world, you meet all of these different people. And as Africans, particularly South Africans, due to our historical inequalities, a lot of us have not traveled.
Yeah.
And so, when you travel and you meet people from all over the world, young people who aren't necessarily like high up there in the corporate rankings or whatever, having this world perspective, it makes you realize that, there's a lot to see, and it can really shape the way that you view the world. We often think to ourselves that you can only travel once you've made it.
Yeah.
But that's also because we haven't prioritized it in our lives to find out what are the ways and what are the different things I can do that can enable me to travel more.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's even different packages that you can explore.
Absolutely. Even local traveling, it has taken me traveling around the world to truly appreciate how absolutely phenomenal South Africa is.
Yeah.
I truly believe that South Africa is one of the best countries in the world. And that is just, it's not something I think of.
Yeah.
It's because I've actually experienced it. And what a privilege.
Yeah, definitely. So take me through how you met your husband. How did that come about?
Oh my goodness. So I met my husband, Papa, in our first week of university.
Okay.
I was at a residence at the University of Pretoria, and he was at the male counterpart residence. So our 2 residences were ragging together, and we had gone away. It was like a weekend away for the reses to get to know each other, etc. And I saw this guy just standing over there in the horizon, and I was like, this guy looks so familiar. So I walked up to him and I was like, you look so familiar. Have we met before? He's like, no, I don't know you. But we just started chatting and became quite inseparable. And I suppose the rest is history. He started following me around everywhere, and he's been doing so for quite a number of years now.
I mean, I guess that's a good thing. Because he put a ring on it.
He did indeed, yes.
So, I mean, take me through now you going into corporate. So, if I recall correctly, you know, even just leading up to your first interview into corporate, you had prepared, you knew the people in the room.
Yes.
You know, you were very like, you know, focused on it. So, I mean, take me through your journey through corporates and then why you then decided to switch into entrepreneurship.
So my journey into corporate, you know, I studied political science and my first corporate job was at a merchant bank. So it's not your typical banking role. And the work that I did was editorial work. So I was an editor within a research department that had different focus areas. And so it was completely, you know, outside of my comfort zone. I think they definitely took a bet on me. And I think it also bears testament to really how you market yourself as well. Because I came to the table to say, you know, I don't have that much work experience, but if you bring me on, you are definitely not going to regret it. You know, so I went in there bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, eager to blow the lights out and to prove myself. And, you know, one of the things my father always taught me is that no matter what it is that you do in life, make sure that you do it excellently. And I really, I really took that lesson with me into corporate. So I was the first one there, one of the last people to leave, you know, really eager to prove myself. And my corporate career was very fulfilling. You know, I was on an upward trajectory. I think what really changed for me was when I got married in 2010. My husband and I were really kind of daydreaming about our lives. What is it going to look like? What do we want our lifestyle to look like? And we decided that we want to spend as much time with each other as we can. We want to build a life in which we have both time and money freedom. Because often at times people have a lot of money, but they don't even have time to spend that money.
That's true.
And the people that have lots of time don't have much money.
Yes.
And so how do you find a way of marrying and balancing the two? And that's what we really wanted for our lives. And I think it became apparent to us that despite the upward trajectory that we were both on within our corporate careers, it wouldn't be able to afford us time and money freedom. Because the time you have is literally limited by the amount of leave days you're given.
Definitely.
And you're contractually bound by your own time.
That's true.
And so we realized that definitely entrepreneurship, building a business would be the way to go. And so we just then had to figure out what vehicle would we use in the business realm in order to give us the objectives that we wanted. And so we did a lot of reading, a lot of researching. And so our business, P&H Boutique, was really born out of us seeking a better life and lifestyle for ourselves.
And I mean, with P&H, why that specific business? Why choose fashion, boutique, African print? I mean, I think it's very powerful, and I think it's a powerful idea to bring modern fashion with African prints. But why that specific business?
So for us, honestly, it was something that came organically and generically to us. It wasn't something that was deeply thought out. In fact, when we started P&H, we weren't even dealing with African print. So it also just bears testament to the fact that, you know, what you start with in business is not necessarily what you will end up with. At the time, my parents were staying in Egypt, and we would often go and visit. And in the time that we were there, we loved Egyptian cotton, and I'd often get Papa these beautiful Egyptian cotton shirts that he would wear to the office. And of course, people would ask, my goodness, where did you get those shirts? They look so crisp and beautiful and tailored and all of that. And then we realized perhaps there's a business here. And so we actually started our business by importing Egyptian cotton shirts. We'd bring in some handbags, etc. But as the business began to grow, we love African print. We're always wearing print. We'd go to events having our print, and people would ask us, wow, where did you get that? And sometimes out of sheer desperation in not finding what I was looking for, sometimes I'd cover my shoes, I'd cover a bangle, just as accessories, earrings, that type of stuff. And when people would ask, I realized, okay, there's definitely a gap in the market here. Perhaps we can explore this a little bit further. And so that's how the business naturally began to transition to what it is today.
And I mean, the growth is also good from what I understand. If I'm not mistaken, you guys now have 7 stores.
Yes.
And so take me through the growth of that and the expansion. How did that come about? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with scaling.
Yes.
And struggle with, having a bigger vision besides maybe the one store.
Yes.
So how did you, prioritize that scaling, and how did it come about? Take me through the steps.
So for us, we've always known that we wanted to be a high growth business.
Sure.
We wanted to be a business that is able to scale and also be duplicatable. Now, not every business has those attributes. There's some entrepreneurs also that aren't necessarily high growth entrepreneurs either. So we realize that you get different types of entrepreneurs within the space. But for us, we wanted to be a high growth business. So we wanted to be able to do a business where we can set up a model and be able to replicate that model several times over. And our business has enabled us to be able to do that. Which is something that we're very grateful for. We started in the spare bedroom of our home. So it started very organically. We didn't have a lot of capital to start out with. And I'm actually quite grateful for that, because what it forces you to do when you don't have capital is that you have to get creative. You have to become industrious. So, you have to find ways of actually marketing your business and putting yourself out there. Whereas when you have a lot of capital in the beginning, you just throw money at your problem, and you don't necessarily learn the lessons that are required in order to grow your business. And so it helped starting from those humble beginnings, having an e-commerce store. And then it began to grow organically from there, to the point where we realized that actually we cannot continue operating from our spare bedroom. People want to see the garments, they want to touch and feel them. We need to have a central location that we can drive the traffic to. And that's what led us to our first store, which was in the Maboneng precinct. So we lived in Pretoria, we lived a suburban lifestyle. We lived the dream that everybody aspires to. We literally packed up all of our stuff and we moved to Johannesburg, Maboneng, because then we were opening up our factory, we were opening up our first store, and we decided Johannesburg, it's the city of gold. This is where we need to open up our first store. So we really took a huge bet on our business, and it's worked out.
Yeah. And I mean, working with your husband, how was that?
It's very interesting. I often get asked by people, would I recommend working with your spouse?
Yeah.
And my answer is hell no.
Okay.
And
I didn't expect that.
And let me tell you why.
Why?
You, in business, you need to work with somebody that shares your business idea, that shares your work ethic. You need to work with somebody that has the same goal and vision as you, because you need to have a common focus. Often at times you get people who come together, a little bit of money comes in, and then you haven't had the conversation as to what are we going to do with this money. One person wants to spend it, another one wants to reinvest it in the business. You need to work with somebody that you can actually get along with, and somebody with whom you can play off each other's strengths, and you find a way to ignore your weaknesses, because why amplify that which does not serve you? And so if that person happens to be your spouse, then absolutely go for it.
Sure.
But if that person is not your spouse and
Yeah.
you find those qualities in another individual, then go for it too.
Okay.
So I feel that you shouldn't necessarily be in business with somebody simply because they are your spouse,
Yeah.
or simply because they are your friend or your relative or somebody that you admire. You should enter business with somebody who has the same vision and work ethic as you,
That's
and you
powerful.
take it forward. Luckily for me, I've been able to find those qualities in my spouse.
Yeah.
However, you may find it in somebody else, and that is also okay.
Thank you. I think that's also very interesting as a lesson. I mean, take me through now. With Vusi Thembekwayo, you in the top 40 mentorship
Yes.
program.
Yes.
How did you come out number one? Take me through how you even entered that program. What does that look like?
So I often say that my life is a testament of the magic of thinking big. That's actually a book that I read at least twice a year. And because I began to see Vusi Thembekwayo's videos online, and I would
They're
listen.
very powerful.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
very powerful. He's a prolific speaker.
Definitely.
And I was literally absorbing and taking in all of this information from him. So he was definitely my virtual mentor before I even met him. And through watching his videos, I always knew that I'm going to meet this person. He's going to know who I am, and it's going to happen. So when he came out with this call to say that he's looking for 40 businesses that he can mentor within South Africa, I knew that ours would be one of them. I didn't know what the minimum criteria is. I didn't know what type of businesses they're looking for, but I knew we would be one of them. I literally got back to the house, opened my laptop, and got busy putting our profile together, putting everything together of what we've done, and telling our story in a manner that would be compelling, that would cause them to stop. And indeed, that's what happened. They had over 3,000 applications.
Sure.
And when I got the telephone call from his office, I literally froze because I couldn't believe that they were actually calling to meet us.
Yeah.
And so the first day that I met him, it was really just the culmination of a dream come true. I believe in writing your goals, your visions, and manifesting that which you believe that you are worthy of receiving. And that truly is one of those moments. Being in the top 40 program has been amazing. I definitely got out of it what I was seeking from it, and it's a privilege, to be able to call Vusi Thembekwayo one of my mentors.
Yeah, definitely a privilege. I mean, take me through maybe 2 important lessons that you learned while on that program.
So one of the most important things, and I always, I think it was reiterated in that program, is that I always encourage people to have 3 main focuses in life, whether it's 3 focuses for the year, 3 main things you want to accomplish in the day, 3 main things you want to accomplish in the week. There's power in the number 3. So you can imagine how absolutely phenomenal it was in our first coffee date with Vusi. We've had numerous coffee dates since then. But our very first one, he looked us straight in the eye and said, "Tell me, what are the 3 main things you want me to do for you this year?"
Wow.
And it was incredible. And it
Yeah.
also reaffirmed to me the power of the number 3.
Yes.
So we got those 3 things out of him. We said we want to come out as the top business in this top 40 program, and we will put in whatever work is necessary in order to do so. We want to be able to cultivate and develop a relationship with you. And also, we want to be able to make maximum use of this program in all facets that it may come, and so forth. So by the end of it, we knew all of Vusi's staff. We're part of the ecosystem of the My Growth Fund. So we literally got everything out of the program that we wanted to get out of. I think the other really important thing that I've learned is to really take seriously betting on yourself.
Very powerful.
Because the thing is, we often approach life and opportunities that come our way through the prism of, oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for deeming me
Yeah.
worthy. As opposed to arriving and saying, I am here.
Yes.
I deserve to occupy the spaces in which I desire to be in. You know, and I've that it really boosted my confidence being part of the program. It boosted my confidence being around somebody who really takes up the spaces in which he enters, both physically
Definitely.
and also just ideologically. You know,
Yeah.
he is there. When he shows up, he completely shows up.
Yeah.
And I've taken that with me wherever I go. Yeah.
I mean, now that you've been part of a mentorship program, I know you also do some charity work. I think it's called Basadi, right?
Yes.
So women empowerment, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, now that you've also had someone passing on knowledge to you, what are you doing to pass on knowledge to other people?
So for me, it's actually two things. So with our Basadi Women Empowerment Project,
Yeah.
when we started in the spare bedroom of our house,
Sure.
of course, one of our biggest challenges was access to market.
Yeah.
How do people know about your product or service?
Yes.
You could be the world's best artist, but if nobody has seen your work, it's as good as not existing. And that is the conundrum that we found ourselves in. And also, you know, how do you learn the necessary business acumen to grow your business? So now that we've got 7 stores, now that we've had a bit of experience, particularly within the retail space and in entrepreneurship as a whole, I felt that we are now well placed and in a position to be able to give back. So the Basadi Women Empowerment Project, basically I work with young creatives, jewelry makers, designers, etc. And I actually offer them retail space within our stores to be able to retail their products so that people can get exposure to
Okay.
their beautiful products. They're able to generate an income through those sales, and they're also able to shadow us and learn some of the day-to-day business principles that we apply within our business. Because for me, the best way to teach anyone about anything is through the way that you live it.
That's true.
You know, and so they have that opportunity to do so. And then the second thing also is with the YouTube channel that I've recently opened, which is called Hetty the Entrepreneur. My purpose really behind that is to be able to teach people and to be able to give back through a form of virtual mentorship, really. Different business principles that come along with entrepreneurship. I often get DMs, emails, you know, people approaching me for mentorship, asking the same kind of questions over and over again.
Yeah.
And instead of having one-on-one mentorship with thousands of people, what if I'm able to put that content out there and make it easily accessible to everyone?
To everyone.
And
Yeah.
I'm also very much fascinated about successful people.
Yeah.
What do they do in their day-to-day lives to make them successful?
Yeah.
What books do they read?
Yeah.
What are their daily habits and things that they implement in their lives in order to be successful? So I'm also going to be having conversations with people that I think are very compelling, so that we are able to literally be mentored by them as well.
I think that's very true, and I think that's very powerful, because I think through people learning and understanding, you know, what steps they can take, it breaks down the whole thing a lot more, because I think
Absolutely.
people are completely overwhelmed when you bring this idea of business and all of that into
Yes.
their heads. You know, it sounds too big, but
Yes.
when you bring it down on a day-to-day scale,
Exactly.
So I mean, my next question then would be, do you think entrepreneurs are made, or do you think they are born?
You know, it's interesting. It's very interesting. I was actually having this conversation recently with my husband, and I think it really is a bit of both.
Okay.
I don't like to really box people, because, you know, you don't want it to be a situation where a person wants to become an entrepreneur, but they haven't always felt like they're meant for entrepreneurship, and then to really question that. I think that some people naturally have the ability to have certain character traits which can enable them to be great entrepreneurs. However, I also very much believe in the power of manifesting whatever it is that you want for yourself. So if you want to become an entrepreneur, you can certainly become it. Being an entrepreneur is constantly a cycle of becoming a better version of yourself, becoming a better communicator, becoming a good marketer, becoming a great advertiser. So nobody is born encompassing all of the attributes that are required to be a good entrepreneur. So even if you are a natural born seller, you may not necessarily be a natural born good accountant, but your numbers need to balance. Your numbers need to make sense within your business. So we're constantly in a state of becoming that which we need to become in order to achieve what we want to achieve. And so I think what we rather need to be asking ourselves is, who do I need to become in order to become a good entrepreneur? And then start implementing those things and putting it into place.
What do you want to be remembered for?
I really want to be remembered for living my life fully, being completely and utterly unafraid and unashamed to show up fully as myself. I would like to leave the earth empty, having literally given my all. Feeling as though if I thought of something, I did it. If I wanted to do something, I pursued it. Not being afraid of perception management, what will people say, what will people think, but just living a life that was fully, truly authentic. I want the people that have interacted with me to be able to say that Hetty is just herself. She's not trying to be anybody else. And because of that, it's allowed me to also be myself. That's what I would like.
I love that. And what legacy do you want to leave behind? What's the one thing you want to impart in people?
I really want to impart in people, Africans in particular, a sense of pride in themselves, a sense of pride in their heritage, a sense of pride in who they are as a people. I believe in this continent. I believe that this continent is beautiful, and I believe in the people of this continent. And I think that we are the beacon of hope, and that and I want to do whatever it is that I can in my own power to better this continent. I am a child of this soil, and I want to give back to it as much as it has given to me.
Well, I think you're definitely on a great path to leaving your legacy, and I do believe you'll be remembered for that. Even in this interview, you've taken up your space so well. So thank you for this interview, and continue to do the work that you do, because I think sometimes we're not aware of how much what we do inspires other people. So continue to do what you do, and continue to do it well, and take up your spaces.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yay!